Hi, my name is Philip, and today we'll be talking about users and permissions in Windows. To start it off, we've got two different sets of user accounts. We've got local user accounts, which is accounts that were created locally on a computer or a server. We'll call it machine from here on. And then we have domain accounts. Stay. Now, domain accounts are created in a domain controller, and the domain controller keeps track of every user account and all their permissions or access. So, a local user account can sign in to the machine that it was created on and nothing else. A domain account can sign in to every machine that it has permissions to sign into in the same domain. Now, a domain is something that you normally see at a company. You rarely see it in someone's house or at home if you're not a nerd. If you are a nerd, you may have your own domain. And I'm not talking about domain name like wiki.se or google.com. That's a domain name. Now we're talking about domain. Right? Good. Now, apart from having two sets of user accounts, we also have two types of user accounts. We have administrator accounts, which has full access to all files, folders, functions and applications. And then we have the standard user accounts. Now, a standard user account has full access to their own files, folders, functions and applications, but nothing else. Not everything else. It may have some other access or permissions that it has been granted from an administrator, but by default you don't have access to everything else as a standard user. A user account has to be unique. Whether it's a local or a domain account, it has to be unique. It cannot be the same name as a machine in a network, and there are some characters that it can't contain, which is the following that you can see here on my right. So, we have the quote sign, neither front or backslash, the square brackets, both opening and closing, comma, colon, semicolon, equals, plus, asterisk, or asterisk. I don't know how it's pronounced in English. In Swedish we say asterisk. It can't contain a question mark, not less than or greater than, and not a pipe sign. And there are some things that should be avoided. For instance, you don't want to use the same password for multiple systems. You want different passwords for every system. You don't want to remove the passwords or have automatic sign-in. And yes, I know very well. It can be a pain in the, to always have to type the password every time you gotta sign into the computer or the machine. But don't worry, you'll get over it. And it's for the better. And it's for the better. And it's for the better. Better, not better. Better. Yeah. And also, you don't want to have your own or a family member's name. Not a pet name, a company name, nickname, or, well, any type of name. Or something that can be connected to you as a person, like your favorite color or your favorite team, whichever sports you like, or even the street address that you live on. Besides from that, you do not, and I repeat, you do not write down the password on a note or a piece of paper and stick it to your display or under a desk mat or something. Don't ever do that. just please, thank you. And lastly, you want to avoid short passwords. Now, back in the day, a password were considered safe if it had a lot of random characters, a special character in them. While this does make it harder to guess, a machine that calculates the password doesn't really care about what characters you use. It cares about the length about the password of the password. It cares about the length of the password. Now, it's better to have a password that is, well, let's say, may I have chicken for dinner, please? Than, for instance, capital Q, F, capital R, 4, hash, dash, 0, capital N. Now, that's simply because it's a longer password. May I have chicken for dinner, please is a longer password. The longer the password, the longer it takes for a machine to crack it. Now, I'm sure this may come as a, yeah, but who's gonna guess my password? Well, this can't be cracked. Well, to get a grip of the difference, the later password, the capital Q, F, yeah, that one, that's an 8-character password. Now, 8 characters is long enough for most applications or any type of account that you create online. It also fills all other requirements that you normally see. We've got a mix of lower and uppercase characters or letters. We've got symbols and we've got numbers. That password, according to passwordmonster.com, would take 2 months to crack. And that's a password that's kind of hard to remember. I mean, I have it written in front of me, I still can't remember it. And besides, I've written it several times. I still can't remember it. Now, the other password, or technically the first password, but anyway, that's a 30-character password with only lowercase and uppercase characters. That would take 2,000 years to crack. And to be honest, if someone does crack it and it hasn't been changed since, the one who cracks it deserves everything they may access with it. Honestly, if you haven't changed the password in 2,000 years, oh, yeah, sure, a system probably wouldn't last that long, but we don't know. But if it's never been changed in 2,000 years, the one who cracks it deserves everything it can get with it. I don't care if it's the National Bank or something. You can get all the money. Honestly, I don't care. Because that's a major flaw. If a password hasn't been changed since. Now, moving on from passwords, kind of. In the control panel in Windows, under user accounts and then authentication manager, we have all the application passwords saved. Now, for instance, if you use Microsoft Outlook or Teams, your account information will be saved there. That makes us that we don't have to sign in every time we open the application, because that would actually be a pain. Because, at least for me, because I have a long password and it takes some time to type it. And I can close and open Teams or Outlook a few times a day, so that would be a waste of my time. And that's helpful, because I still have to sign into my computer. Now, this is information that you want to have, since there may occur problems when you, for instance, change your password for your email. You might have to go in and change the saved password, or even delete it. There can also be other problems that has to do with your sign-in information, your credentials, so that you need to go in and delete them so you can re-enter them. Happens sometimes. It is what it is. It's Windows. You gotta learn to live with it. Now, in LUSMGR, or Local User and Groups Manager, You can see all your local accounts and edit them if you are an administrator. User profiles is a place where all our personal settings and some of our files are stored. For instance, our pictures and documents. If we haven't changed that to be stored anywhere else, it's by default stored in our user profile. And user profiles can be found under C:\users, where we can see a bunch of folders named as our username. Well, it's one folder per username. And in our username folder, if we take, for instance, if I have a user named Philip, there will be a folder named Philip. And in that folder is another folder, well, several folders actually, but there's one folder that's called appdata, APPDATA, which is by default hidden, but if you choose to reveal or view hidden files and folders, you can see it there. And in that folder, there are more folders, but in that folder all our settings are stored. So sometimes problems may occur for a user. If you're an administrator managing a server, you might have several employees or users that have problems with their user profile. Now, the user profile is created when you sign into the machine. So if you have some old settings or something that may cause a problem, you can, I was about to say delete the folder, but don't delete it, but rename it. Take ownership of the folder and rename it to, for instance, philip.old. And then the next time I sign into that server with my username Philip, a new user profile folder will be created. And speaking of signing into a server or machine, there are some system rights that we can change in the local system principal, well, local system principal manager. For instance, if we don't want standard users to be able to shut down the machine, this comes in handy if you have a terminal server or remote desktop computer that normal employees work on. They sign into the remote desktop server and do all their work from there. Now, you don't want a standard user to be able to shut down that machine, because that will create a pain for the IT department, and they have to go in and start it up and all that. Then you can change in the local system principal manager and change so that a standard user are not allowed to shut down the machine. Speaking of permissions, if we look at folder and file permissions, allow and deny are the only permissions that can be configured. But you can leave it as not configured as well. Now, you should never give permissions to user accounts. You should give access or permissions so that user can access the files, but you should never give the permissions to the user account. Instead, give permissions to a group and then add the user to the group. This makes managing a lot easier, because if that person quits or you hire another one to do the same job, instead of going to every folder and giving them the proper permissions, you simply add them to the group and you're done. Off we go. And also about permissions, allow and deny. If you have two groups, for instance HQ and IT, and then you have a shared folder called economy, you want to allow HQ to access the folder, but you don't want IT to access that folder because they don't have anything to do with the economy of the company. If you give allow permissions to the HQ group and deny to the IT group, and then you have a user in the middle, for instance the CEO, if it's a smaller company, he's part of the HQ group. but he also takes care of all the IT. So he's the one who's doing wrong in the first place. Anyway, if he's a member of both the groups, the HQ, which has allow, and the IT, which has deny, he won't be able to access the folder, even though he has allow from the HQ group, because deny always trumps allow. Deny always trumps allow when it comes to files and folder permissions in Windows. So we want to be very careful about the deny permissions in Windows, because if you don't give allow permissions, you still won't have access. But if you specifically set deny, then you will be denied. Even if you have allow from somewhere else, you will still be denied. Now, if there's something you would like me to make a future video about, or something that you think that I missed, or that I could do better, leave a comment down below. And if you found this information a little helpful, a little, I don't know, entertaining, probably not, or at least if you found that you learned something, please consider giving this video a thumbs up and subscribe. Click that, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. And if you didn't like this video, try playing it in reverse and see if it makes you laugh. Until next time, sorry about that. Until next time, have a good one. Bye.